Welcome back to the online sessions on DCCM. In the earlier chapters, we discussed about the basics of the unit number 1, unit number 2, okay, where we discussed about how do we normally going to proceed with the computer to computer communication by using 7 layers of OSI model. So in that 7 layers, we have an important layer that's known to be called as a network layer. So network layer is normally going to a predominant role in communicating the signal from source to destination computer. So what are the various responsibilities that we have seen in the previous classes? The responsibilities of network layer is normally going to be of providing internet working, addressing, routing, fragmentation, okay, and packetizing. So these 5 are the basic responsibilities, or we can say functionalities that has to be provided by the network layer. Okay. So in this chapter, we will be primarily focusing on introduction to network layer. So network layer, that is what introduction is, something like basic responsibilities of network layer comes under introduction to the network layer. And next one is going to be the network layer design issues, so which we'll be discussing just now. Then routing algorithms. So we somehow look into these routing algorithms also. Then the most important one is going to be a congestion control algorithms. So very important concept called congestion control and routing algorithms. Internet working is also equally important because nowadays we all deal with internet based communications. So therefore, this is also going to be an important point in the internet working applications for using a network layer. Okay, network layer internet, of course, which is an important point. We discuss about this. Okay, and part of the utilization of network layer in terms of ATM networks, how we normally use network layer to provide services for the ATM networks. Okay, so these are the basic stuff we have. Now, in the previous session, we discussed about these functionalities or responsibilities of network layer, such as internet working, addressing, routing, packetizing, and fragmentation. The next one, the network layer design issues, and we discussed, I hope the store and forward packet switching has been discussed in brief in the previous session. So in today's session, we just start with this first design issue known as the store and forward packet switching. So which is very important. All these design issues are really going to be important and need to be taken care when we normally design a network in a communication system. So the first design issue is going to be the store and forward packet switching method. Now in this store and forward packet switching method, we have to compulsorily consider a certain network layer protocol environment. So imagine that this is going to be a public network, public switching network, which can be called as a carrier's equipment, where many hosts can simply connect to this particular carrier's equipment for the communication to take place. Okay. So that means in that scenario, we may consider a particular network known as developed by a congregation of various routers. We here call it as a carrier's equipment or a public network. And to this public network, there are host 1 and host 2 connected. One host is connected directly to the router. Another host 2 is connected to the router F by using a internal LAN connections. So this is what the network setup we have practically, physically. So this physical network has to be designed now to have certain mechanism of transmissions. So the packet coming from host 1 want to get transmitted to host 2. So in that process, we normally implement this particular design issue, store and forward packet switching design issue. So as the name indicates, store and forward. Store and forward means what? At each and every router is going to store the packet coming from its source. So for example, if you think about A is the router. So what do you mean by this encircled letters like A, B, C, D, E, F? So all these are known as routers. A, B, C, D, E, F are known as routers. So every router, what it does in the store and forward design methodology, design issue, every router is normally going to find out the correctness of the data which is coming into it by using the checksum. That means it is simply going to store the entire data and it is going to verify the correctness of the data. Then once the data is simply correct, then what this router will do, it's simply going to transmit this data to the following routers on the various lines which are used to have a connection between the routers in the public network. That means here host 1 is directly connected to the public network, whereas host 2 is connected to a leased line known as LAN connected line, which is a leased line connection. And to this leased line, there is a proprietary router connected. So now this router F is connected to the public switched network. So this is what a simple practical physical connection, network connection between the host 1 and host 2. So host 1 is known as source computer, for example. Host 2 is known as a destination computer, for example. So we consider that source 1 is nothing but host 1, destination is nothing but host 2. And we are assuming that the source, that is host 1, is going to transmit some data into host 2. So this is what our assumption. So under this assumption, by considering this assumption, we simply going to follow the operation of this. So what is simple operation? Store and forward means what? The router A, once after it receives the data from here, it is simply going to store this entire packets, whatever packets that are coming from the host 1 are normally going to get stored, right? So that means the say for example, router A is going to receive many packets from host 1. It is simply storing those packets and checks for its correctness by using checksum. So once checksum is cleared, once it understands the data is totally correct, then the data is simply the packet is simply going to get transmitted to host 2 via various routes of the network lines connected in the carrier's equipment. So this is what the basic diagram we have, where in the store and forward, what we do now, we simply store the data. First of all, we store the packets, we check the correctness of the packet, then we forward those packets into the next underlying routes. So for example, this particular host 1, this particular router A may take either route from A, B, D, E, F, or it may take a route like A, C, D, E, F to reach the packet to the host 2. So it may take either one of these two routes for a packet to get forwarded to the destination computer known as host 2 here. So this particular design issue is going to be known as the store and forward type of the communications. The next is services provided to the transport layer. So here the network layer, see, as we spoke earlier, that it is the responsibility of each and every layer to provide service to the subsequent layers in sequence. So for example, there is a source computer, and in the source computer you're going to have the transport layer, network layer, and data link layer. So while the transport layer should provide services to the network layer should provide services to the data link layer. That means reverse also true. The data link layer should provide service to the network layer should provide service to the transport layer. What does it mean now? That means when these three layers are used in the transmitter side, then the data is coming from transport layer to the data link layer. When these three layers are used at the destination computer, then the data coming from data link layer should be given it to the network layer, and from network layer it should be given it to the transport layer. That means compulsorily every layer should provide service to the other layer to and fro, right? So that particular thing has to be done here in the case of this particular various protocols. That means every protocol, every layer should provide services to the other layers. When that means one is when the data is coming from source to the destination, other one is reverse. Okay, so these are the two things which is very important for us to really remember. So in that process, what we can think of is going to be services provided to the transport layer by the network layer. That means what are the services the network layer should provide to the transport layer? So the network layer provides service to transport layer, the network layer itself, of course, so transport interface. So that means these particular services are normally going to get programmed at the transport layer interface. So the important network layer design issues include services provided to transport layer and the internal design of the subnet. So that means here, that means when the data is going into the destination computer, this network layer should provide service to the transport layer. That means the design at the transport layer, the design in the transport layer, when the data is in the transmitter side of the transport layer, has to be really programmed properly so that the network layer of the destination computer can provide service to the transport layer of the destination computer. So this is what the thing which is important. So therefore, I already told you beforehand that you should think the network which is used between the source and destination computer is going to be treated as a network of networks. So you will be better considering about the internet as the network in between the source and the destination computers, because internet is going to be called as a network of networks. So when the network of networks are connected, what types of, we are not going to use only the unique network technology or subnetwork technology. So definitely network of network is normally going to involve with different types of subnetwork technologies. That means irrespective of the type of the subnet technology, the data has to be transmitted. That is what the main objective. Irrespective of the type of the router we have, irrespective of the type of the relay systems we have, irrespective of the type of the bridges we have in between, the data has to be transmitted effectively to the destination computer. So therefore, the communication path between the source and destination is going to comprise, is comprising of many routers, switches, bridges. So interconnection of all these things, relays. So all these are simply going to get interconnected so that the data can be reached to the final destination. So that means here the service should be compulsorily independent of the subnet technology. So this is what an important point. When you consider network of networks, that means the network of networks definitely going to be definitely are going to be different. That means all the networks, all the different networks are not going to implement same network technology. So every network is implemented with different network technologies or subnetwork technologies. So in turn, what we can say is that this particular network layer should provide service. The service provided network layer should be independent of the subnet technology. So that means the protocol should be written such that it should work out with whatever may be the kind of the subnet technology. So whatever may be the technology of the network used, your data has to be transmitted effectively. That is what the main objective of this network is. That means your network technology is going to be like a star topology, bus topology. Okay, so it's a mesh topology, doesn't matter. So whatever, it should be independent. Well, in short, what we can say is that whatever may be the topology, underlying topology, this particular network layer should support giving a service to all such different types of subnet technologies. Therefore, we say that the service provided by the network layer should be independent of the subnet technology. Then second point is going to be the network layer should be shielded from the number, type, and topology of the subnet. Should be shielded. What does it mean now? There are certain type of communication. There are two types of communications. One is going to be connection oriented service, connectionless service. So in some of the things like connection oriented service, so what is so important is network layer really don't bother about the type of the topology of subnetwork, about the type of the network underlying the underlying network has been used, and number of the subnetwork. So these data will be simply handled by the your network transport layer itself. That means there will be a difference in utilization of the transport layer or network layer based on the type of the communication that is involved, based on the type of the service involved in the communication. If it is a connection oriented service, then transport layer will simply look into the matter of the the subnet technology type and its number. If it is going to be connectionless service, then definitely network layer is simply going to do the programming for that particular connection. So that means what here, therefore, the transport layer should be shielded from the number, type, and topology of the subnet. If it is going to be a connectionless service, then definitely the transport layer should not see what this particular network layer is simply providing to have a communication between the two computers, source and destination computers. So there is a point we have to bother about. The next last point is going to be the network addresses should be made available to the transport layer with a uniform numbering plan. That means here in the connection oriented service, the address of the source and destination information should be very well known, to the transport layer to have a communication between source and the destination computer. So therefore, this network addresses should be made available to the transport layer with a uniform numbering plan. That means it should be very simple and should be known to it should be uniform. Uniform means what? We normally going to have a simple plan which is going to be very common for almost all the types of the subnet technologies. So that means that should be the basic thing which we need to have. That is basically we're going to have three important design goals. That's going to be the service should be independent of the subnet technology, and the transport layer should be shielded from the number, from the network number, from the type and topology of subnet, and the addresses should be unique for a to provide service to the transport layer. Then it provides two types of services. Network layer provides those services for two types of communications. We have connection oriented, connectionless service, as we are talking about. Now the subnet can be connection oriented also. In the case of connection oriented, then the transport layer really cannot request transmission of information until the connection has been set up. So once the connection is set up, then the transport layer is simply going to directly send, without the involvement of the network layer, the data from source to destination computers. So let us think in a broader sense or in a deeper sense on the implementation of the connectionless service and the connection oriented service. So let us first of all go with the connectionless type of the service. So as I was talking to you continuously, that we should treat the computer to computer communication going to be in par with the or analogous to the postal communication system. So in that comparative statement, what we can say is the data which is coming to the router, we call it as a datagram. So in this particular connectionless service, the data coming out of a network layer and going into the router is called as simply known as a datagram. What is basically a datagram is? A datagram is a self-contained message. It is a self-contained message unit which contains sufficient information to allow it to be routed from source to the destination computers. So here it is, datagram is known as self-contained message unit. Whatever the requirements are fields required for a message to be identified between source to destination, all the information has to be provided in this particular datagram. So that is why it is called as a datagram. So therefore, we call it as a self-contained message unit. That means once the data comes out of a router as a datagram, it is an independent packet. So it can simply take any route which is possible to take in the network the network region. So that is what we call it as a independent link. So therefore, we call that packet which is coming out of a router, okay, called as a datagram. So we simply call that packet as independent packet. So therefore, we treat each packet is going to be independent. The network layer simply accepts messages from the transport layer and sends out each one as an isolated unit. So this is what independency benefit. So every packet is going to be independent of the other packets, even though all these packets belong to the same message, but still it is normally going to have this particular thing. Because of this advantage, we can use this in the connectionless type of the service. So therefore, the network layer simply accepts the messages from the transport layer and sends these messages out each one as an isolated unit. So that the transport layer is going to give a huge amounts of data to the network layer. Network layer simply converts them into packets, and each packet is isolated with all other packets, and they're independent to all other packets. So like that, these packets are transmitted. So next, each packet contains the full source and destination address. Fourth, so each packet follows a different route from source to destination. Now, this is what the advantage of the connectionless service. In the connectionless service, so for example, host 1 has transmitted packets 1, 2, 3, and 4. So in this process, the host ones 1, 2, 3, and packets are going to take a route like A, C, E, F, and H2. And the fourth packet is going to take another route. Okay, maybe the reason like this route may be busy with the transmission of these packets. That is why it is going to take another route to speed up the communication. That means by the time when this packet 3 is going to reach to the node E, then packet 4 is also going to reach to node E. So this is what we normally going to have the scenario over here. So that what is the problem here? We are normally going to have it here something like the data transmitted from router A. So imagine that router A is having 4 packets designated by numbers 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now these packets are transmitted from router A at a time, but all these packets are not going to get received in sequence at the receiver computer or a destination computer H2. So this host 2 computer will receive all these packets in a random fashion, in a zigzag fashion. But these packets have been earlier transmitted by router A in sequence. That means router A transmits packet number 1, 2, 3, 4 in sequence. But all these packets 1, 2, 3, and 4 will not get received by host 2 in sequence, because these packets are traveling to reach to the destination computer through various routers, through various line connections. So that here these routers A, B, and C are connected by lines. See, this is a line called B dash line. This entire line I can call it as a B dash line. This entire line from here to here I can call it as a C dash line. So that means here these routers are connected by this line called B dash. A, B, D, and E are connected by lines B dash. A, C, E are connected by a line called C dash. Now that means at every router, it is going to maintain the routing table. So the reference router is going to be router A. Router A is normally going to prepare a routing table such that the packets are simply going to get transmitted using that particular or in that particular route. So let us try to think in terms of a routing table. So this diagram is same as, this is called datagram subnet routing basic process we are normally dealing with. So let us start looking into this now. So this is a routing table A. So routing table A, this is the destination routers, and this is going to be the line which is normally used in interconnecting. If the destination is A, what is the line it is going to have? Nothing. So therefore, nothing will be there. If the destination is going to be B, router B, Then in which line it is router B is connected now? Router B is connected to the line B dash. This entire line that just now we discussed as B dash line. Remember? So therefore, this is a B dash line. So therefore, this line, this destination B is connected to the line B dash. Then the destination C is connected to the line C dash. This is another path now. So another path we simply designate by a line number as a C dash. Then destination D is connected by a line. What line it has been connected, if you see carefully, is line by B dash from A. See from A how it is connected. From A it is connected. D is connected from A using the B dash path. Now actually D is connected by another line ACD also, but that is not connected actually. That is not used. So this path is, this entire line I can take as C dash. This entire line I can take as B dash. And one more line has come here called as D dash. I can simply think of. All right. So that means if you don't bother about this particular line, if you see this particular figure here, I don't have this line here from C to D is not there. So I'm considering this figure. So that means when you just neglect this line here, this figure is same as the previous figure. So this particular routing table has been drawn based on the previous figure. So therefore, I just go with that particular previous figure now. Okay. So the destination is going to be D. This line is not there now for this particular routing table at A. So for destination D, the packet can go through a line called B dash from A to B, B to D router on the line B dash. So on the line B dash, this particular data can be transmitted. Packet can be transmitted. Now let us look into the E. Now, which path is decided for a packet to reach to E is going to be called as C dash. C dash means what? A, C, and E. All this is lying on the C dash line. Then next it goes to F. So whatever is there for F is simply going to travel through C dash path. Okay. So this is a routing table that we can simply going to write. So if this is what for the 3 packets. What are the 3 packets we are thinking of now? The 3 packets that we are thinking of. 1, 2, 3. See, these 1, 2, 3 packets are taking this path, and 4 is taking another path. So later, packet 4 also you have to designate. So later, the packet 4 is going to take this particular path. So for packet 4, almost all similar kind of a story you'll be having here. If destination is B, it is connected to the line B dash. If destination is C, it is connected to line C dash. If destination is D, it is connected to the line B dash. It means how the path is coming to the B now. A, B, and D it is coming. If it is E now, destination is E, how the path, how the fourth packet should come now? The fourth packet is supposed to come through router A, then B, then D, then E. That means all this is connected to a line B dash. That means this entire line is connected. That means this is a series line connection. So this entire series line is designated by the letter B dash. Then F. F means what? F means packet 4. That means this is for packet 4 we are writing. This routing table for packet 4. So this packet 4 is traveling through router A, B, D, E, and F. This is nothing but your B dash line. You got only single line here. We did not designate this line because it is a single line. So we don't bother about this single line. So because since we got 2 paths here after A, we are bothering about these lines. So therefore, this F is connected through the line B dash. That means packet 4 is traveling through this particular line B dash. That means these particular packets coming on this line C dash is not considered. That means packet 4 packet 4 routing table has been drawn it over here. So like this, at each and every node, we can write the various routing tables. In the exam, you can just draw one routing table with this example, and you can just say similar to this. Every router is normally going to write its own routing table to transmit or to make this packet to travel from source computer to the destination computer. So this is what we normally going to prepare a routing table. So a very, very important concept in the examination point of view. So you have to draw this, compulsorily you have to draw this particular routing diagram, that is datagram, subnet routing diagram you have to draw, and routing table you have to simply draw. You have to explain how you have to simply prepare this particular routing table. Based on this routing table, how the communication is going to take place, all these points which are there here, I've just explained just now. So these I have to explain in terms of points in the end examination. That means this data communications is normally dealing with the concepts, something like a story. So you should understand it like a story. If you understand it like a story, now this story you have to make it as points in the end examination by using the diagrams, by using the certain bullet points. You have to make this story in a systematic manner, in orderly manner. You have to write in the end examination. So thereby we can simply going to score well when you really write in the exam with the diagrams, appropriate diagrams, and point wise explanations in sequence one after the other, how the packet is simply being transmitted from source computer to the destination computer using the network layer. So that means here we are dealing with only the network layer. So since we are dealing with network layer, what is the responsibility of network layer? It is the primary responsibility is what? Routing and addressing. These two are the most important jobs or responsibilities of the network layer. So here what we are doing here, we are performing the operation called routing by maintaining a routing table. So every router is going to maintain its own routing table. So based on the routing table, your packet is simply going to get routed to the destination computers. So this is what a very important concept which we have to compulsorily undergo. So routing and congestion control are the very, very important concepts for the end examination. Okay, because without these two concepts, we really cannot transmit any packet using the network layer. So therefore, very, very important concept in terms of the examination. So therefore, I request you all to write the bullet points once again and make sure that you understand the concept very well. So once you understand the concept, then once you got the bullet points, so before you go to the examination, just skim through all those bullet points that you have written, all the diagrams that you have simply drawn, and just simply enumerate about the concepts by yourself, right? So you need to have certain articulation skills where you can normally going to prepare a little bit story based on the diagrams that you have seen, based on the routing table that you're going to have, and try to make them in terms of points in the exam. So it's simply going to make you to write an exam in a very healthier manner. So that means writing concepts in DCCN is very easy. Understanding DCCN is very easy. Only thing is you should have a patience. You should be in a position to think in terms of communication. That's it. It's very simple concept. Okay. So well, with this, what we do is we stop our session here today. Next session, what we'll do is we'll simply discuss about a connection oriented service. This is also very important service which will normally going to perform. That means a routing is normally being done for a connection oriented type of the service. Thank you very much for today's session. In next session, we go with the connection oriented service.